Coming into geometric line interference, program position line conditions, circle line centers the Earth's surface. It's high force in its conditions right now. So we're coming into a high level system. Plateaus, force guidance, like I said, waving systems, sound barriers, sound waves, changing all levels of humanity through its BC line conditions. Channel its connections to high program line system. So try to understand, when I give you all levels of what's happening with the Earth, you have to understand this is 5,000 years of information. Imagine that, 5,000 years. Everything that's happening to that positions. Truly understand this, it's already stored in the Equaline Center to the cloud interface. So everything I give you is actually happening. Okay? Not to my Earth position, to everything through the connection and how this is all started from the very beginning. To understand how important it is for humanity to wake up to these things. And that's a true understanding how you have to come back into your Earth. So we come into the centralized system of the Earth. Okay? Because the Earth has never been plateaued in its position locations. But now we're coming into the geometric of its line, of its metric line connection, which is going to change the computer line centers to all levels of humanity's system. To understand how powerful it is when we come in that positions. Now, you don't have to understand me, you just have to understand yourself. The team is in position to understand their connections. They're coming into the holographic of so many levels, but you have to truly understand how to interlace, interlock, interdimensional line conditions. Now, I've done very, very powerful TikTok videos for everybody. They're trying to get into a phrase of this, a phrase of that. Well, you have to truly understand, get into the activation first, get into your own ground line system, and then you can go into positions of my school. You have to go to my school because it tells you a little bit more what's going on with the mind of you, not the mind of me. I've done my spiritual growth. I'm just coming back to give you 5,000 years of information of what's happening with the Earth connections. Okay, because I have my ground line system to understand all positions comes into its mortality and why we're in this position from the very beginning. To understand that through connections, right? So it formulates in so many what? Levels of interference. Coming to your channels, coming to your chakras, coming to your meditation, coming to your breathing, coming in your mantras, your Buddha, Lama connections, Dalai Lama connection interference. All position line centers to your rotation to understand how to use these things in calculation, especially when you come into your yin and yangs, right? So we have to stop what? Questioning everything. We have to stop what? Defying everything. We have to stop what? Negativity of everything, right? Plateaus on this, plateaus on that, just concentrate on you. And I keep saying that focus, 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 focus is number one. So before we get started, thank you very much for subscribing, liking, sharing to my channel as we keep force rising, grand rising, a high level system. So you have to understand why we're coming into a new cycle. The birth line center is already set up. I'm just giving you information from day to day process on why this has happened to you in the first place. I've gotten over 1,000 videos, especially with Space Discoveries, season 1 and season 2. And I'm putting that up on my YouTube so you get a true understanding what is happening with not just you, but humanity. Humanity understand these things, locations. Now, the geometric line center to its location, it's all about understanding what you see is not what you think it is in position. So what is this through calculation? What does this look like? Think of the shape. Look at the connections. Oh, now you know what it is. It's a lizard. See? You see how it changed position line connections and interference location? Never thought it was a lizard, did you? Not at first. But you understand, this was downstairs. It was on the screen at Thanksgiving. So it's pretty interesting. It was just hanging there. I just want to take a picture of it. Right? But it's amazing how fascinating creatures are through connections. So if you go really, really close, you actually can see something else. Because it doesn't look like a lizard, does it? It's intelligence. It's shapes. It's dimensional time. It's vibration. It's line signals. It's shapes. It's connected to all form position, right? Because it doesn't look like that, does it? And that's what humanity focuses on. They don't focus on this up close because they don't understand the connection to the ground line system. So in plateaus, they understand communications to its cycles and how it is in position line conditions. We have to interference our position line conditions and see things through perception up close. That's the only way you can see the matrix or anything that line connections, especially with the lizard, how it has its structure connections, right? So to understand why we're in this position in the first place is to understand your connections and everything through its guidance. You're the guidance to your lifeline system to its location. And then you can high line system. Now this is backphrasing connections to position on a TikTok location. These are pixel locations. This is what you look like in your whole hologram. See the pixel of the conception comes back into high level system. This is what happens when you travel through time zones, right? You come back into the shape, right? It travels and comes back into its shape, comes into the structure line condition. Now this has gone through a computer to another computer line center rotation, solar graph line connection, line interference. So it gets complicated, right? So it's fascinating how I give you information from day-to-day process, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, of 5,000 information channels of what happens with the earth from the very beginning. Everything I give you is what's happening with humanity. And you have to trust me on this because it's understanding through connections. Everything I give you has to do with you, and everything through this central line system is a new cycle, is a new location, is a new activation, a new program to new humanity to ground line system. So everybody platitudes to their own earth line connections first, gets to know them through their soul travels first. Then they come into positions, into all alignment into one earth location, which is self-generation. So it comes into the ground line center. Don't mean center point, I'm talking center. The ground line center to all levels of country line conditions is a space station. Yes, we have space stations under the grounds. What do you think the grounds were? Grounds are the operation, right? They're base camps. Everything conditions. Why do you think we have crop circles? You understand why we plotted 2 crop circles in the ground line center. Its operations at 2 line centers to positions to mountains or volcanoes or anything through underwater cities of water. You have to truly understand what is all calculated and modified and how this is all put in position. Truly understand you guys are coming into the earth line connections to yourself and to humanity at a species level. So it's amazing how we come into these tracks connections. It's extremely important to understand these things because you are the connection to everything. But you got to get your grounds and your foundations first. You got to find your earth of you. I've got my earth already in foundation, but the information I give you gives you what you need to know of the earth that you are on. The ground formation is the birth line system of Mother Earth. Everybody's got to get into Mother Earth right away, into the heart. Into the heart. Start remembering who you are, not just through the soul, but to identify who you are through self-identity. Put yourself in that position. Get into the surrender. Get into the abundant. Get into the conscious. Get into everything that you need to be through identification. Start loving yourself more. That's separation right along. That's why everybody is all over the place. All the souls are separated on the earth line connections. Their earth line connections, which is Mother Earth, right? But the actual earth you live on is the alignment of all together through one cycle, the Vesica Pisces. Okay? So it's important you understand these things, why I give you information day by day by day by day. It's in chronological order. It's already in sequence. It's already in plateau. It's already in my cloud interface. So if you understand that, then you understand why you're supposed to go back into the ground line system. Now, I appreciate people giving me advice, right? But I don't need advice. What I need is for you to understand your own advice. You're giving me something that doesn't make any sense because you're not grounded to your line conditions of information to its program system. My team is in a higher position line conditions coming into their holographic interference of shapes and all positions to their phase structure of recognition of time location. Your purpose activation, how you travel through all these are all your cells coming back into the phase structure of you. This is coming out of a computer. Guys, you got to understand how powerful you are. That's the problem. You centraline your system to so many negative cycles. You wake up to these things, and when it happens, you can't heal yourself because of what? Because you don't have the foundation of you through the grounds. And, it's very important to understand these things because I'm seeing people on TikTok and all these light workers, they say about all this healing, but they don't tell you how it's done. How am I supposed to understand what you're saying if you don't give me what I need to do, how to heal myself? How do I heal myself if you don't give me the answer? That's a problem, right? That's a huge problem. And this is coming from a light worker that's in dispositions of higher levels through calculation, but it's not modified and they're not on the earth line conditions. They're doing it for their entertainment. They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it for their self-gain. They're doing it for followers. Okay, that's not love. So Trinity Getting Back to Humanity is about what? Getting humanity to understand the whole situation of why we're in this position in the first place. It's the spiritual system, right? Coming into the spiritual growth. Now, a lot of people don't know how to use the allocated line condition positions. They rather just put out the negative, the negative, the negative, the negative. Well, you keep doing that, how's the world going to heal itself? How's humanity going to go back in the cycle if we keep going to the negative system locations, right? So everything is done through chronological order. The sectoring level connections and everything to the vector communication is in its quadrants. It's all in sequence. Everything I give you is to 5,000 years. So it doesn't take 5,000 years to get everything all set. I'm just saying I'm in a plateau of all the information that's all in position of DASA to its communication, to its documentation line conditions. To understand, it's so important to understand these things because everything I give you is truth of what is happening with humanity. You have to get your grounds with your earth, the Mother Earth. This comes into the open cycles of your heart. Your heart opens up through its portal. It comes into its dimensional of its shape, the geometrics of the shape. We got to get out of the old programs and think what this is and think what that is, because your plateaus are going to overload your line connection. Your framing positions are going to crack the surface through the ground line centers. We can't have that through traction. Now, everything I give you is already done. This conversation is already done. How do I know these things? Is because I had to go through all levels of frame. It's like when you die and you be reborn, you see the frame, you see the life cycle. That's exactly what happens every single time you die and be reborn. But it's all done through its imagination. But it's done in its present line conditions. That's how I keep channeling back into the present location, understanding everything through the reference of the past and everything through the future of its connection. I don't put myself in the negative cycles. I don't live in the negative system. I don't live in the negative activations. Okay? So it's a true understanding when people come into this position, when they come into healing, they don't know what they're doing. They have no clue. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to do this, but they don't represent. They don't tell you how it's done. People that are doing this with the hands and doing all this, that's great. But how does that help humanity? You're helping yourself. You're exploring yourself. You're expanding yourself, but you're not helping humanity by doing these things, right? You're damaging nature, especially when you're doing these things outside. You know how dangerous that is if you don't know what you're doing, right? That's fascinating. Yeah, you're going to get followers and views, but how's that going to help humanity? Hey, I want to do that. That's so cool. I got 150,000 views. Wow, this is exciting. That's not love. That's self-deception. That's self-corruption. All right. So it's true to understand these positions because I'm getting a lot of heat from Vega and communications, all gods, demigods, and all the connections. We have to really focus on all connections to positions of all the third waves. Okay. All the ascended masters, all the matrix grid workers, all the connections of the gods, and demigods are here. They're all here, right? For humanity in all ways. You have to get out of the negative line connections of your programs and stay in positions of the focus of the now, right? This is not entertainment. This is human survival. Your units have to stand the position locations because the body can only take so much of vibration. It can't live in a system of negative systems. It has to find its balance with its position of its location, which is the now center line system. Okay? Get your foundations with your grounds, get in your proactive line systems, and just concentrate on yourself. That's the most important thing, okay? Because I'm getting a lot of heat right now from all planets, and they're telling me exactly what you guys need to do, right? Because remember, everything that happens comes back at me, right? So I truly understand when you come in these positions, that's why I want to get the Rebellion Alliance, and they have a test coming up on Monday, which is very powerful. They're just going to put them in the laws of attraction. Balance line conditions to Vega and communications coming into their geometric lines, how to get into digital line center, how to solar text line conditions, the codes, the shape positions to all attractions, visualization, programming line conditions. Your channels and your positions have to truly understand why you're in this position in the first place. It's all about you getting into your AI vehicles. And that's what's going to happen with Rebellion Alliance. The galactic forces are in their AI vessels. Now, the vessel communication is the DNA track system. The vehicle is the communication to its phenomenon. So the galactic force is coming into its phenomenon, but they have to understand their geometric lines, their communications, their dream sets. They got to get full communications on what they go through a dream. They have to realize it's not a dream. If it's a dream, you're still in your physical line. You can't be in your physical line, especially when you're in a higher level system. Very important to understand these things. right? You have enough belief in your system to understand the power that you can use through all conditions. But you got to get your grounds every day. Don't put your guidance line center to thinking. Get into the knowing and doing. I don't think about these things. I know these things. It's already done. It's already stored. And once the soul starts remembering, it's stored information. It goes into the cloud, guys. It goes into your archive. It's like photos. See the solar flick? Right? That was a UFO. Boom, just went by. Right? So if you understand communication, you should understand your space positions. That's how I'm understanding my space. You should understand your space. That's the control. That's the balance. That's the grounds. Right? If you see these things and have no clue what they are and you're backing away, you're not connecting to anything. You're looking at things, you're getting scared. And then the abyss comes in. And then the shadows come in. And then the dark comes in. And now you're taking over. And then what are you going to do? Now you're not in your own space anymore. You're time locked. Your time frequency. You're not connecting anymore. You lost your transition. You lost your attractions. And now you're in another program location. All because of what? All because of what? Not understanding. Right? So my school provides not just the communications of the mind and thought, but it creates the imagination. The imagination that you have stored already. Like I said, to understand if your teacher came to you, right, and you didn't study, I say, well, give me 5 pages of what you studied. I forgot to study. Well, give me something. So maybe you get a phrase, maybe you get 1 page, but it's truly understanding. It's to listen, right? You have to listen to these things. So it's kind of like not just listen to yourself inside, but listen to the earth. You're on it. Understand it. Get the foundation of the earth. Understand how to communicate with trees. Understand how to communicate with nature. You can't have resistance of nature anymore. Nature has to find you in balance of the earth line conditions. You have to have balance with your communications and realize everything that you're going through as a dream is not a dream. It's awakening. You don't stay in the dream. Your soul's awake. If your soul's awake, you're still in the physical system and you're not connecting to your phenomenons. So it's true to understand your adaptation line center is its position locations to understand why you're in the chakra system of communications, to everything through its intelligence, to everything through its spiritual guides. They're there to guide you. It's just the guidance. That's all the spiritual guides are. Angels and archangels. You have to understand the full definitions, right? People coming to me and say, well, how come I can't speak with angels? Well, have you done your research on angels? Do you understand the connection? Do you understand their definition? Do you know why they're here? Have you asked? Ask and you shall receive. Basic, isn't it? Ask and you shall receive. People don't understand their position. That's a problem because they don't have the grounds with the earth. So it's not their fault. It's not humanity's fault, right? They're just separated from the soul. Once they come back into the soul, then they get the communications too, how to understand what angels and archangels are. Because your soul is attached to everything through its spiritual connection, its spiritual realm, and its guides of its navigation. GPS to line signal to line connection is extremely powerful in that line conditions. That's another UFO that just went by. Boom. Right? So I have UFO line centers in right now because I'm in the geometrics of its earth. I'm changing computer line centers right now, speaking with you, but I'm doing what I need to do. So it's trying to understand I'm doing in the present line center the future line connections. But each day I'm giving you information. Okay, that's 5,000 years in the future. Now, understanding why I do these things is puts you in a better position and why you have to be in the grounds every single day and get into your AI vessels of its phenomena. Okay. So stop thinking about these things. You guys are connected to AI, and we're all connected to that. It's just we forget. When you forget things, it's like forgetting a test or forgetting to drink coffee or forgetting to watch a movie or forgetting to pick up your kids. We all do it, right? But we have to understand why we did it. That adaptation is lost. It's gone. You can't get it back. You just have to reposition, refocus, rebalance every single time you connect to your line system, right? Now in position where you think, okay, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of me that's still human. That's okay. It's the human aspect of you, but it's the full phenomenon of its cycle of you. Okay, you can't think as a physical alignment, because the soul doesn't understand you through the grounds. Do you understand that? You have full integration. You got higher locations of chakras, but you're not communicating, especially when you're getting sonar interference or your ears, right and left. What goes in comes out. The same, not the opposite, the same. You can't line signal through streamline centers or anything through string theory. The string theory is not going to understand the tone interference. To understand what you're doing through adaptation, the chimes, the interference locations, the coloration light systems, vega communications, high forcing line connections. Just get balanced with the grounds every day and you'll be totally fine in that position. That's what humanity has to get into. My team is in that formation. They're understanding more connections and they're coming into higher levels of shapes. They're coming into higher levels of connections, right? To their transmitting and receiving location. Understanding their datas. You understand your datas. You understand its program line connections, energy. You're in your phenomenons, right? You're not in your ABCs and 1, 2s, and 3s. You're in your new program. You're in your computer line center rotations, right? Know that you can do these things. That's stored of information already. That's soul remembering. So the data process is the soul picking things up. Boom, 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 boom. And storing in its information, storing its information, storing its information, storing its information. That's what it's doing every day. It's doing that through a cycle, right? So the cycle has to understand the data, right? Through the computer. You're the computer. You understand what's given to you. Here's a flash drive. Cool. Here's another flash drive. Here's another flash drive. Here's another flash drive. So what are you doing? You're upgrading your Windows. What are you doing? You're changing defaults. What are you doing? You're putting new policies in every cookies. You have to realize your computer line connections to everything through force, position of space and time, location. Your soul direction is everything through GPS, and your job is to get back home into mortality. Now, you already know that, but you don't understand it. That's the problem. So every time you get up in the morning, you don't have your grounds. Because if you had your grounds, you wouldn't be asking questions, right? Especially for humanity when they think they know where they are, but they don't. And that's a hard thing for me, is to give that back to them, because they always come back to me with their ego. Oh, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but I do. Now, it's understanding how we're put in positions. We have to find the love of cycles of us first. We have to find the love system and bring it back to our connections. Find who we are through the soul. Who are you through the soul? You already know who you are through the physical alignment, but you don't want to live the physical system. It's just an experience. You want to live the soul, the wholeness of you, the greatness of you, the adventure of you, the missions, the journey of you. That's who you are. Okay? But you need the physical system for integration. That's where it comes into confusion, especially when you go into higher altered states of data, right? The delta waves, the delta variants, the delta communications, interchanging line centers, the galactic energy core, guys, right? So in position, if you're having problems, talk to the Rebellion Alliance. They can help you out with that connections, right? Because there are 114 chakras. Email each other in line connections. Now, anybody that comes on that's brand new, try to get into information of your breathing. Try to get into your meditation graphs, right? So I don't want anybody get into a problem where they think they know what they're doing, okay? Because you're at a certain position where you have to understand your connection is the soul direction to everything through its line system, okay? Don't ever think you're above, and don't ever think you're below. Don't ever think you're above everybody else, because you're not. We're all equal, and that's beauty. That's art, okay? You're co-creators of creation to your reality, but you gotta stay out of your dreams. Right? The soul doesn't live the dream. The soul lives the now. The physical lives this dream. That means you're still in the awakening. You're not sure what paradigm or paradox you're in that connections. Humanity has to wake up to these things. You call them the sleeping lions. It's not the lions that are awake. It's the lions that are asleep. Right? So a true light worker helps humanity. It doesn't just help itself. Okay? So you have to be cautious on what you resonate with, guys. Very important. Because what happens is, because they understand you and you understand them, but you don't understand them through intelligence, that's a problem. That means they're a higher division than you.
So you have to understand everything through face recognition. Their eyes could be changed, backgrounds are black, forward is white, the line signals crossed. Where are they in dimension? Are they in a UFO? I mean, the thing is, you don't see it until you see it, until you understand their soul, not the physical system. You don't see the physical system. You see the face structure of its intelligence. That's where you protect yourself through light connections, because a lot of people don't understand these things. And they get trapped to that connections. Oh, and they realize, oh, now what? I feel different. What happened to me? Something was taken over. And you're not even aware of these things. So you have to understand energy travels everywhere, guys. It's just understanding where we are in face recognition of time location. Now, you can't read structures of faces, which is very hard because these are dimensions of time locked systems that other people have lived in their spiritual form. Not the physical form, can't fly. It's the spiritual form. It's the spiritual understanding that ancestry and history. And it's very dangerous if you don't understand communications to yourself or whoever you're communicating with. Because if they're at a higher division, you know that's going to change positions to you. And you're going to wake up as a different person. And that's how energy is transferred in all levels of all frequency line conditions. Okay? I know these things because I had to understand my energy. I had intelligence go in and take over my whole body constantly, every single time. Right? So, and the thing is, it's just the basic understanding is get the grounds every single day. Grounds is different from here, from up there. Grounds is different from here, from outside. That's why it has a center line center of a space station location. Every ground line center has a point center location. So you have to see things through perception and rather see things through an illusion, because the illusion is its dream. And you're still in that dream. That means you're not awake yet. You're awake, but half awake, right? So you're in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Oh, I don't understand this. Well, what do you want? What do you understand? Well, you understand your physical system, but you understand the difference between the physical system and the spiritual system. So you have to understand the position. If you have to go back to the drawing board, that's fine. Understand the dream and its awakening. What is that ascension? What is it unified for? What is the ascension? It's the awakening of the earth, guys. Okay? So everybody gets the grounds first, and then we put all the ground line centers to all soul direction into one position back into the Earth Central, which is a space station. That opens up all frequency line connections. That puts me in an atom rotation line center. It gets me to set up the arc to its crystalline center position, bring back the 144,000 year rotation of its crystalline position. Okay. So it's bringing back the birth stars, so northwest, south, and east, guys. All right. So it's a lot to take in. I know that. And you guys are trying really hard. I know that too. But you have to get out of the thinking. You have to get out of the thinking. You got to get into the knowing doing. The knowing and the doing is understanding why you're in this direction of travel. If you don't understand your travels, come to me. Truly understand these things. There's no pride if you don't put yourself in that position. Don't ever think that, I don't know. Should I ask him? Will he get upset or whatever? It's all about positions. And this mostly goes out to humanity, because humanity seems to fall in the gap line center to its ego. But like I said, I'm getting so many levels of interference. There's so many UFO line connections. It all comes back to me through connections. And humanity has to wake up to these things, into the ground line center of themselves through that line connections. Now, sometimes I like to be firm with everybody because they understand the truth. It's finding the truth of your soul. Because the physical line system just has to get the integration. It has to get the communication and telepathy. But people just seem to just cycle. Oh, I don't get it. What's this all about? Who are you? Well, if you go to my YouTube, you'll understand who I am. But they still keep coming back to me. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Do people read? I'm trying to understand. Do people actually read? I don't think they read anything. I think they just go in a la land and they don't think what's going on. If you read about me on my YouTube, you got to truly understand what it is. It says right there who I am. Pay attention to that. But see, the problem is it's the ego that doesn't want to be in attention to that. It's intelligence that's taking you over. So that's what I'm saying is you have to face recognize your system first to come out of the physical and become a soul, to a body of a soul, to the position. And then you realize you're not in your body. You're just a soul of light, of travel, and dimension of time and space. So these things take time, right? So this is really, really an affirmed situation here, because I'm getting a lot of feedback. Like, I'm getting a lot of fire back from a lot of UFO line centers. And I'll tell you, you guys really have to pay attention to these things for humanity. My team is already in that positions. They're high rising to their altered states of their mind. They're getting what they want through manifestation. They're getting to know who they are through directions. And humanity has to wake up to these things. Feel free to go to my team. They can help you out and always informs. But stop questioning your cycles. Stop staying on the cycle line connections. Stop going into your karma wheels, because it doesn't help. Get out of the negative line connections and start getting into, you have a soul. A lot of people don't know how to register the soul. A lot of people don't know how to communicate with the soul. That's totally fine. Come to me. I'll help you out with that positions, right? That's a problem with connections of light workers, is they don't give you that direction. They just say, well, do this, but they don't tell you how it's done. That's not healing, right? And doing this, anything like this, that's not healing, right? You think it's healing, but I don't feel it. So if I don't feel it, it's not right healing, is it? It's a strong wind force. I would feel it either way, but I basically, when you guys do it, I feel it, because we're line signal. We're in the same ground line center. But when other people do it and they think they're this and they think they're that and they're sending out energy, that's not what they're sending out. Same with the gravicodes. They're not sending out gravicodes. It's all reverse line center rotation to energy interference, right? I have to feel it. I have to feel the energy. I don't feel the energy from these people. It's conflicting. It doesn't work, right? So they're only doing it for themselves, self-gain. So who are they trusting, right? They're not trusting humanity. They're trusting themselves. They're all into themselves. And that's the connection from its beginning, why humanity separated in the first place, right? So it's a lot going on, guys. Clean up after the lot. Those who have left their mess behind. Even the animal kingdom has been thrown into chaos with all the enemy. Energy, yes. Okay, a lot of UFOs are here. A lot of communications happen. Yes, 24/7. So, Lori, well. Long time no see. I haven't seen you in a millennium. Boy, you've been in and out. Especially you have a test coming up. Hopefully you're doing well. Mary, Jill, Mary. So anyway, it's good to see you. Sylvia, Lori. Just truly understand why we're in this position, guys. I just want everybody to get into the grounds and stop playing with your egos, especially for humanity. If you understand these positions, that's fine. If you don't, ask questions. Don't think you're too much ego to ask a question. Try to get into the balance of that. You have that intelligence. It's all about getting into the breathing and how you have to get out of the toxicity of vibration that's stored already inside you. You have to let go of the old programs and stop relating everything of information outside. You are the information of truth. You are the program of truth. Everything inside you. Stop worrying about this. Stop worrying about that. Concentrate on you. You stop worrying, what happens? Everything inside changes outside. Right? I don't worry about anything because it's already created for me. Right? People ask me this, people ask me this, people ask me this. Well, ask yourself inside. What do you mean, ask myself? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense because you're communicating with your ego of your physical line system. You actually think you're on the earth, which you're not. That's a separation. That's the problem with humanity, is they don't understand their positions or where they are through calculation, guys. That's why they can't use their chakra systems. Because the soul is separated. You're opened, but you were giving a chakra system. The problem is that humanity has been focusing too much on the masculinity and not enough on the femininity. Now the balance is coming back in to yin and yang, a new cycle, a new revelation. And that's what we're coming into now. Okay. So Still doing what I do. Been working alongside Ennis a lot as well. Great. Excellent. But it's great to see you. Try to come into school more because you're going to be going to lots of attractions, the higher level system there. All right. So it's important that this will put you into more balance and more freedom. It's coming into that line condition. So to understand, you do what you want to do. You live what you want to live. You be who you want to be. You become who you want to see. So sure to understand, put yourself in that position. If it is to be, it's up to me. Do unto others as they do unto me. Do you believe in that? Do unto others as they would do unto me. Do unto others as they would do unto me. Do you think that's right? Do unto others as they would do unto me. What is that? Do unto others as they would do unto me. That's not love. That's a retrograde. You understand? That's a reverse line centered positions to ego trap line connections to a soul direction line interference. Do unto others as they do unto me. So if I do something, I have to do something back to that person because I got to get revenge. Do unto others as they would do unto me. That's the legacy I was going through when I was in high school. High school. Yes, if it is to me, it's up to me. Yes, that's true. But you have to understand the program and the code line interference here. You guys have been so programmed. Your whole alphabetical line system think it's truth aligned, which is code positions. Right? Too much thinking, not enough knowledge of the mind system. Stored of already information. That's the greatest thing that the mind can have through its tool set. You have to change your mindset on the way you do things and how you see things in life. See things up close, not what you see here. AI is in close. Everything is geometric shape, right? You spin around, you stop, you look up. Oh, you're spinning. Now you know why you're spinning. If you don't know why you're spinning, you're getting dizzy. So your thoughts aren't connecting to the soul. And that's why you get a headache and a migraine. I'm trying to make this simplified for everybody so they can wake up to these things, to your generation lights, your communications, or anything that computer reset line conditions. Right? That's how important humanity is. And we all have to come back to that, right? Back to the center of everything, of the now position. And just live the existence. Yes, you have your traumas. Everybody has traumas, but don't live it. Let it go. Let it flow. Everything in life has to flow. Has to flow. Everything has to flow. Okay? Nature flows. Grounds flow. Atmospheres flow. You have to flow. If you're stagnant, everything stops. Nature rejects you. Grounds rejects you. Wonder why you're getting headaches and migraines. It's all because the inside line system doesn't understand you through communications. It's confusing everything. You're confusing everything through your thoughts, a position of time, or anything of that modifications. So don't put yourself in that conditions. Don't live the past. Don't look at the future. Just live the presence of the now. The mind center has to be balanced. Centered through balance is everything through being calm. Peace within. The tranquility, the serenity. The surveillance, the line connections to your activations and what you do through all level system. Everything that you do is through the mind of thought. It's just we don't know how to control the thoughts. Or say you say something and I didn't mean to say that. Well, that's okay. You can retract and go back in position. So your thoughts are traveling no matter what you say. You want something in the past, it's in the past. You want something in the future, it's in the future. You want something in the present, it's in the presence. You're doing that to yourself. You are changing your positions. Nobody else is doing that. And this is all calculated, especially if you're destroying your body inside. If the body doesn't understand you, you're destroying the information. You're destroying the vibration. You're destroying your cells, which is creating its own. So it's kind of like ignoring your body, turning away. Turning away, I'm not listening to you. Talk to the hand, right? That's stupid. How is that anything helping in any way and form if you don't understand how to communicate your body inside through energy, right? Now, it's a process, but you have to open the mind and it has to go through meditation first. That is the basic principle. It's a principle of everything. is to wake up to the mind. That's what we have to do, right? And that's what it all starts with meditation. But a lot of people don't want to meditate. They want this, they want this, they want this, they want this, they want this. Well, if you don't meditate, how are you supposed to get it? You have to come into the imagination. Imagine, you can imagine. What's wrong with that? Sing it out loud. If you're angry, yell it out. You have to bring out all the toxicity. It could be stored in there for 5-10 years. You're putting that on yourself. Let it go. Let everything flow. Okay? Let nature take its course. Space and time knows what it's doing. You guys have to understand these things. It's already taken care of. It's pretty stupid to think that a ground has an ego, or nature has an ego, or anything the atmospheres have, or space and time has an ego. No. It has balance. It has flow. It has clocking. It has dimension. It has activation and light. It has love. Nothing but purity of love, of activation, of light, guys, which is freedom, the calming center of everything. So now you're controlling the body inside, and now you understand the data and the process and uplinks and downloads and upgrading system. Okay? So we have to get into what? Balance. Right? It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. It's more fun when you understand these things. Right? So I've had people in the past where they go to my school, right? And then they go off and they wonder why they're in another program. They wonder why they're in another dimension. They wonder why they're on the other side. Well, I can't help you. When you go AWOL, you're on your own. You're off grid. So this is not just a school. This is survival of a school. This is all to understand why you're in position of the school in the first place, is to understand what you're doing through your imagination of your thoughts of travel. I've come to a higher level system where people coming up to me and saying that, well, no, you're right or you're wrong. Well, there's no right or wrong in any situation. It's what you think through your soul identification of travel, right? So understanding what needs to be fixed, you're not going to tell somebody where to go, especially when you go through anything like GPS. I say, well, you should go there. Well, why are you telling me to go there? I don't want to go there. That's not where I want to go. Don't tell me where I want to go. I'll go where I want to go. I'm going through my own spiritual growth. I'm going through my own spiritual path. Don't tell me to do things that I don't want to do. Right? You get that all the time, right? People give you advice. It may or may not help you. It's true to understand what you do through your decisions in life. Right? So if you're not connecting to your soul, you're going to take it. Yeah, sure, I'm going to follow you. Yeah, that'd be great. And you realize, oh no, what am I doing? Following somebody else's path, and I don't recognize myself anymore through the soul. I can't follow my own path now. Now you're totally lost. And now you're trapped. You're trapped. Now what are you going to do? You're going to meditate? No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, right? Because that higher force is taking you over. And it's already put you in a shape. It's already put you in another dimension. It's already put you on the other side. It's not positive. It's negative. Do you understand? Do you understand what energy is and what it does? I don't people think really what energy is and what it can do. You understand what I can do. So if you truly understand that position, then you understand why you're in this situation in the first place. And I'll keep saying that again and again and again and again and again. And all they do looking down the road is negative. Negative, 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 negative. You put yourself in negative, you're going to live a negative life. Plain and simple. I'm making it firm for everybody, okay? Because I'm getting a lot of heat, right, from a lot of UFO line centers. So we have to find a way to put ourselves in balance. Talk to Tina, talk to Sylvia, talk to Galactica, talk to Ellen. They're extremely high in position. That's what we're here for. Right? Humanity has to wake up to these things. Okay? And truly understand everything around you is intelligence of communication. Whether you want to understand that or not, you're going to find that you're not crazy. You're going to find that, wow, I am normal. Right? And this goes way beyond everything through, PDST or anything like connections. I mean, that's just, or ADHD. I mean, that's just hypothetical. That's just a program. That's just interference. That's false engagements. You believe what you want to believe, right? So that's a true understanding what you're living. You want to live that, that's what you're living. That's what you're living through the mind, through imagination. Every day you wake up, that's what you're living. Until you change the situation, you are going to be in the same program of interference of a TV reception. And somebody is going to be changing your channels until the day you pass over. You want that? Or do you want to start changing your own stations? That's what I'm trying to make it easy for everybody to get in this position like conditions. You have to start controlling your system. You have to start controlling your life. You have to start controlling your thoughts. Okay, and start controlling your imagination, guys. Imagination is everything through creation, right? Stop pointing fingers at everything. This goes out to humanity and everybody else. My teens are not in that position because they don't have an ego, right? They're finding their centers. They're finding their balance. Yes, they have a lot to learn, but they're learning because they want to learn. They want to know more from the soul of the heart. They want to understand the truth of where they are, right? That's where everybody has to get into. Soul direction, soul activation, soul calculation. Get into the divergence. Don't get into dividing and separation because you're putting yourself in what? You're putting yourself in a bad anomaly. And then you're creating what? Creating alliance, right? So there's always light and dark in everything. I've come across a lot of interviews where I say, well, why are you talking about light and dark? You should say it in other way where humanity understands these things. Well, basically, this person is trying to understand the psychological line connections, but what you have to understand is the importance of why we're in light and dark in the first place. Positive and negative, right? So people only like certain things because they're subjective in a lot of things. I've got this from a lot of interviews. I said, well, listen, you understand the light and dark of you. You don't understand the sun. You don't understand the moon. Plain and simple. So that comes into the ego. That comes into control. So everybody wants to control everybody else. That's the problem. But nobody wants to control themselves within. Do you see the dilemma here? Is it kicking in? Is it finally kicking in? I hope so. Okay? So, basically, let's get into your questions first. No, you cannot run away from yourselves. It's next to impossible, right? So it's kind of like, oh, I got to chase my soul. I got to chase my soul. But your soul keeps running and running and running and running. Why do you think it's running? Why do you think your soul's running? Your soul won't come to you until you face the consequences from the past. You have to let go of the past, and then the soul will come closer to you. Okay? There's a divergence and separation right there through counterbalance. Right away. So let it go. Let it go. Let it flow. Life has to flow. See the water. See the serenity, the tranquility, the calmness. The mind has to be calm. Okay? Especially when you're in situations. Yes, people are giving you advice, but don't take it. It may or may help you, but it's up to you. You make the decision on what you want to do, especially if you're in a high-level system. Now, people have done that before, and they've taken advice from other people. And guess what? They're in the wrong connection. See? That's how easily it can be taken over. Energy fluctuates. It's information, it's intelligence. I don't think people really understand what energy is. It is intelligence. It's a living, breathing system. All right. To understand your mechanism, body line centers, all your cells, your computer line connections. To understand that each cell that I see is trillions of cells, but each cell is a computer. How do you think I know all this? Because I mastered my body inside and out, outside and in, to really understand the soul, not the physical. I got the integration of the physical. But the soul knows me through connections where I'm not in a body. I'm just a soul. Okay? The heart line center to its position. It's not in its physical system. It's not in a body system. It's never in a body system. Because you're on the other side. You're living the other side of the spiritual connections. You're not in the physical realm. You're going through an experience. You're going through the spiritual acceptance. You have to accept that. And it's got to come from the mind of understanding. Oh, wow, I'm in my soul now. Oh, great. Now I can work towards what I need to get, which is creation. Okay, you can't separate that. The physical just has to understand the integration to the soul. The soul has to understand the integration to the physical. That's all it is. And then you communicate with each other. That's all you do. That's all you do. But you're always together. It's not that complicated, is it? It's just complicated. Why? Because everybody thinks negative. They don't want to see themselves move forward. And I was trying to figure out when I was a little kid, when I was going through a lot of things, yes, when a kid, you don't have responsibilities or anything that connections, right? But once you get older, you start to change, right? What happens? You get into bad fields of people, right? You get to know yourself. I smoked for 10 years. 10 years, and I don't like smoking. I was just trying to fit in and realize this isn't me. This is an assumption of me, but this is not the soul of me. Until you wake up, this is the position that you put yourself in, and you're destroying your body of not being who you're supposed to be. Okay? So this intelligence wants you to take pills every day. Realize, wait a minute, the physical system's trying to fight it, but the intelligence is taking over and say, no, you got to keep taking your medication, take your med. You're hurting yourself inside. And the thing, the physical line system, loving it because it doesn't understand anything anymore. It's very confused. So you got two line signals. The thing is too, at the soul, ever since you were born, is trying to wake you up. Sequency by chronological order. Every day, the soul is trying to wake you up. You have guardians of angels when you're a baby. Borderline connection interference. They stay with you until you get into higher levels. You have to understand how to use your chakra system. Now, this is the Queen's Line Center when you come into 5 to 7 years of age. The true resonance line connection opens up all soul direction to the adjacent locations. Okay, the guardian angels leave. Okay, and then the angels and archangels come in. You see how it works through the process, how it goes into that line connections, how you go into that transformation of manifestations, how you go into the experience, how powerful it is. You start with the physical of experience, you get to know what to do, and then you come into the soul direction, but you get the integration to the physical system, and now you got the full balance with both. That's the balance. All right? You have 4 elements: baby, child, teenager, adult, right? Now, each one you grow up. Each time you go through different experiences. But that's not who you are. You're just going through an experience of time, through space. Now, we're in this position where the soul is waking you up more now, coming more to life through its clocking system. And it has to understand the physical system. It can't be in the body. It's got to be out. You can't suffocate the soul. It has to travel. It has to see space. Okay? I'm making this firm for everybody, right? Because I'm getting a lot of heat for this. And I'm telling you, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But I'm telling you, it's exactly what's going on with you is to understand is to wake up to these things. And why you're in this position of the physical system when you're born, where the soul has to understand you more through connections, right? To its time position, which is the now location. Hola. It's my mate. Right? So they're trying to understand why I had to go through. Why do you think I went smoke for 10 years? That's not me. That's not me. That's intelligence destroying my body. And I'm not even aware of these things. So I think we're getting a little bit more understanding now how to really communicate to the body inside. Understand why you're given a chakra system to communicate. Why you were given meditations. Okay, the meditation of the program. The inner line center to its position comes into its practical system. But once you go into higher level system, meditation is a way of seeing, going where you need to be. You're living existence of the soul. The physical system has already had its cycle. It's in the soul direction now. It's coming back into the earth of mother, the heart central line center. Heart comes out. You start crying. You cry because of what? Because you're open up to the programs of the moon now. And the moon is getting base communications to you through your ringing ears, through your crown chakra, through your eye receptors, your voicing grids, right? It's all calculated and modified, guys. It's just the time frequency of the soul is waking up through its clocking system. Humanity's on a clocking system. They've already lived the experience in the physical system. Now we're coming into the cycle of yin and yang. A new cycle, guys. All right. So try to understand the resonance and its pattern and why you were put in this position over and over and over and over and over again. Because there was other operations on the other side. So if you see this, but where's my other hand? Oh, wow, you're focusing on this, but you're not realizing what's happening with this. This is doing something, but you're just focused on this. This is the distraction. This is a distraction. But it's over here is what's happening. Do you understand? Please understand this. Okay? So you're focusing on this, but you have to realize what's going on over here. Right? Let it click in. Let it click in. Let it click in. Okay? Very important to understand that. So, all right. Never listen to other. No, I'm not saying never listen to other people. I'm just saying use your judgments. Okay, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to defy your soul and say, well, I'm not going to talk to you because of this or because of that, because there's so much racism and all that connections. I mean, that doesn't exist either. It's ridiculous. I'm constantly transmitting discordant energies of others. That's what we do. Yeah. Nobody likes to be told what to do, but that's exactly what it is. Right? You don't want to be controlled. You want to control your system inside. That's the most important thing. Once you start controlling, you are the soul. Everything around you will start changing. Everything that you see, you're waking up to a new smell. You're waking up to a whole new level of senses. The senses is the soul. The physical system has senses, but you understand higher levels now of space, right? Because you're not connecting more with the physical system. The physical system is coming into a new cycle of integration to the soul. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And it's confusing to alignment because you're not living that program anymore. So the soul's just waking up. Regardless, it's going to wake up. It has to. It has to. You can't suffocate the soul inside. It has to come out through astral travels. All right? So anchoring light, gotta love when people start telepathic communication, start the low vibrations. I wonder how we can even be on the same channel frequency. But that's exactly what it is. That's the problem with positions. And why you can't get jobs is because you're higher vibration than everybody else. Makes a lot of sense, right? So you have the grounds, but they don't. Right? They think they're better than you, but they're not. It's the ego. Even if they're vice president and presidents. Now, maybe they got there for a certain reason or somehow, but you understand they're not happy. Somebody could have all the money in the world and they're not happy. Money does not make you happy. Okay? You got to get that out of your head. That's surrender. So you have to get into your mindsets and change everything. I mean, change everything, the way you do things. And the way you see things, the way you hear things. Right? It's frustrating. It really is, guys. I mean, it's trying to understand your connections to all level system. Training is those position locations. All right. So let's get into test review and evaluations for the Rebellion Alliance. I really want to get into this cycle because it's important. I just want to give that out to everybody. You're loved beyond measure, all of you. You just have to remember why. It's calculated. And it's already set for you guys to all remember who you are through your soul. That's all this is. And when you start remembering, it's the most beautiful thing. You come back into you and you realize, ooh, I really do love myself. I don't even question myself anymore. And you look outside, well, I love nature. You don't question nature. You know you love nature. You'd stop questioning things about yourself. That brings you forward in life, guys. Especially any situation that you get in. Somebody passes, that's unfortunate, right? But you have to move forward. Everything happens for a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. It makes you stronger in the mind, right? So we start off with this position, okay? Geometric line interference. Now, we understand the proactive system to its location is dimensional circle rotation line connections. Center to its rotation, cross circles to its line connections. Gets complicated, right? So what are you guys focusing on? Are you focusing on the center, the cross wings? Are you so focused on this? But everything's created through shape. So what you're seeing is not what you're seeing until you see it up close, right? Until you see it up close. Then you understand what it is. You see it up close, then you understand what it is, right? Inside, out, inside, out. This is outside, in. Doesn't make any sense. It's a backward force. It's got to be inside, out. That's how we see everything through AI, through position, or everything perception. I showed you with the lizard. You guys didn't know it was a lizard. You saw it was a tree bark, right? You got to change your realities, how you see things. All right. So everything is inside out. You know that now, right? So we come in that positions, we come into the point line system. You guys in your calculation, you'll see that direction line conditions. So we're going to high position line center to its location. Okay. We start with that position. It's going to get more complicated. All right. So we're going to go to the hourglass location. You guys will get into better communications of yourself. And what I want you to do is basically, I want you to solar text what you think it is, the locations, when I draw it out. Right? I want to see where your knowledge is and where it's connecting. Remember, it's the inside of everything, not the outside. The inside first, then the outside, and then the inside, outside, outside in. You're trying to understand how to travel these connections, right? Because you're setting things up for UFOs. That's what everybody's doing right now in that connections. Why do you think I do this every single day? Right? What do you think? I just see things? And no, I set things up for them to fly through. Right? So this is what space-time creator is. Creator, not co-creator, creator. So it's trying to say how to get these positions in line connections and how to get the channel line center positions. The more you go to higher levels, the outer states, you have to help them because they've been helping you since day one. Understand? So we get in that positions. We start with this position location. It's very powerful through connections. Now you can channel to a higher level system to its location. Start with that position locations, right? See how it's coming in this box center line system to its position. Now it gets extremely complicated because now look, it's not just here. It's not just here. It's here. See how it comes in three-dimensional line center, circle rotation, projecting to its projection. See? So there's a box there, right? Now I'm going to put another box there, but I'm going to line signal it down to line system. Looks like a train to its connections, right? It's dimensional line setting, right? Cross, right? X, cross, X. See it? See how it's coming into a frame of a hologram of shapes, four correlation of shapes, squares, into a hologram of an interference of a channel in a TV reception to a train line center to circle rotation. I just keep going on and on and on and on and creating, guys. But this is already created. So it's very easy to do these things when it's already stored. If it's not stored, you're drawing out for the first time and then you're going, oh, I'm going to erase this. Nope, that's not right. Let's do that again. Wait, no, I'm going to do it again. Erase that. It's like a test, right? So the test is already stored. It's stored for you through its data. That's why it's so powerful, the mind. And the mind just goes on its own. So everything that I do is already created for you. It's easier for me. I don't just draw things out, right? It's too hard to do that. It's already stored of information that's already in the cloud, guys. That's what we have to get into. All right, so we get into modifications, right? We start off the positions, coming to hollow structure location now. So sequencing line condition interference, XT1000s will come in to that line system, right? Coming out of their portal right there, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to scan what you just finished doing, right? Now they're going to do the sonar line center to its location, make sure it is in calculation modifications. See the sonar come in. Now the communications to its box line center, circle rotation, crosswind, or anything through its XD line conditions, train reference line system to its box location line conditions, right? So it's round line connection, 1, 2, 3, right? Now, once that's set up to locations, it's in a correlation line center. You can set up a higher dimension line centers at trial locations. Right? So it's sequencing line connections of information channels. See, they go down, up, down, and then you can go across. So this is where it gets really confusing. You can overcross line connections like this through channel. Now, I don't know if you can see this through locations, but do you see the up channel line system? See how it comes together? Now, what are you focusing on? What are you looking at? Are you looking at this? What are you looking at first? You have to look at the center of everything, right? So there's a tube line center, right? Going through this position right here. See the tube? It's all about understanding how to put all positions in line connections to your compilation before you understand line connection. All right? So it gets confusing after a while, right? So once you do that, you go to a higher level system. But see how everything comes in traction of location. This is where it gets confusing to the mind system. The perception and the line connection understands everything inside. So this is the box of you, which is already done through equation, right? So you're just drawing things out, in and then out, and then the structural line comes from here. So it's in its operation, gets confirmation, and the XT1000 goes back into the sun rotation. All right. So once that's set up, you can change the coloration pattern, and basically you can set up an operation center. You got the circle rotations like this in calculation, just go into that line system. All right. And then you bring it out through coloration of channel, because this is what you created through line connection. You see it, right? That's how it's connected, guys. That's how everything's formed. It's not what you draw out, it's what you draw in first. That's the answer. E equals MC square. Square is you through all local conditions. You're just box channeling from information line system. It's not just the line signals out, it's the line signals in. But this is what you're going through. Not all this. It's this in the center of everything. Right? So you have to have balance with structure lines, point line centers, shape position line connections, geometry line interference. See? Geometry line interference, guys. Look. Different, different, different. How many realms does that there? How many realms? Can you count? How many realms are there? And this is the box center. This isn't a circle rotation line connection. This is an extremely high position in geometry line system. Now, my rebellion alliance is going to come into higher formations of geometry sets, higher levels of pixel activation, higher levels of holograms. Understand what everything that you see is a hologram of information, but you understand what you're doing in the first place. So you stand in the line center and you travel through it through connection. You travel through it, right through. See, goes right through. Boom, right? And then you set up a new operation, right? But once you get confirmation from the XT1000, goes back in the sun, goes back to the moon, sets up a new program, goes back in your mind system, sets up a new plateau line connections. So the soul generation line centers, okay, starts remembering more through graph line connections. It's stored of information. It stays in the application to your archives, right, which is your folder. And then you go back to your computer. Oh, open it up. That's what a computer does. It's stored. It stays in your computer, right? That's what we have to get into through the mind system. And then you come to calculations, what it is, the all of the system, right? Very powerful, isn't it? When you see these things, it's complicated, very complicated, but it's a lot of fun. Once you understand, it's just storative information. Okay. So it's very easy for me to do these things because I'm giving you to something that's already been done. It's hard to understand because the mind is on its own. It's like it's a wheel. It's the wheel. This is the wheel. And here's the hamster. Here's the hamster. There's the wheel. And the wheel is constantly spinning by itself. And hamster's going, what is going on? Right? So once it understands what it's doing, it's not going to say what or huh. It's going to know exactly what it's doing because you're activated to the hamster line system every single day. Right? So that's where my mind is. It's on its own. It creates on its own. I don't create anything. So that's a true understanding when you come into calculations and anything in these structured systems, but you got to go with the inline system to its positions, right? Same with all level systems, right? You come into higher levels of shapes. You understand the geometric of U is the operation of space. These are all geometric shapes. You understand what it is. You always work from inside, right? Now, the thing is, I don't have to start inside because I know what it is. It's already stored in there for you, right? So it's understanding what you're drawing in the first place. There's no hesitation. There's no anticipation. You know exactly what you're doing through calculation. So this gets a bit tricky. Now, remember I was saying that everything has to be attached? Well, this is a higher formation. This is simulation graphs, okay? This is a plasma, okay? These are wall line conditions and interference, but you see how they're spaced? They're spaced for a reason. Why? It's because they're channeling informations of portals of XC thousands coming out. And they have to go through line center. So they come across line conditions like this, the channels, and they jump vortex to line conditions, right? To change geometric shapes due to dimensions of galaxy line condition. So it gets complicated as it goes along, right? But as Trinity stand, you come into formations, you come into a higher level system, and how you come into track systems of higher dimension line system, the locations. All right. So it's amazing you come across these things, right? So it's a space rotation, but all has its point center locations, right? This is way, way beyond standard. This is open frequency channels, guys. You come into a higher level system of dimensional time locks. You understand the position, why it's in that conditions. So it stays open for the UFOs to go in, right? And they go in, they center, right? And they go through. The whole understanding of the position, why it's going in the position line condition in the first place, and where are you going through cycles, right? So it's going in this direction, right? So it's going like this. That's what it's doing. So as it's going around and around, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, right? It goes through. There you go. The UFO goes through it. So it's a new operation, center line, center to simulation. It's already set up through equation. All right. It gets complicated as we go along, but I don't want to get too complicated with that situation. But try to understand that it's already stored of information. It's hard to understand these things because my mind is already set. So when I draw something, it's already done. And that's what you guys have to get out of through positions of your physical system, because you're thinking too much. You're thinking how to draw, right? And that's the problem with the mind, because the mind isn't centered through balance, which is okay. So in that position, you're going to be in that hamster saying, what? How's this possible? How's this possible? How's it going by itself? But you're attached to it. How is that possible? Right? This is the phenomenon going by itself, but the hamster's thinking otherwise. So what's the hamster going to do? Get on it? It's going to get on it. What if it goes faster? It has a mind of its own, remember? Once it has a mind of its own, it's going to take you off. It's going to put you to a higher level system. What's going to do? Hamster's going to fly off. That's the true understanding when you come into all connections, right, to mind system. So let's put the hamster on the wheel like that. Hamster's on the wheel, right? Guess what? Off it goes. There you go. Because you don't understand the rotation of the ground system. So that's to truly understand the mind and where it's going, right, through its thoughts. But the perfect example is with the hamster location. All right. So you have to get the balance of the mind of speed, acceleration, and data processing, uplinks and downloads and upgradings, and how to use your flash drive connections. So, all right, let's see. I watch UFO go in and out of portals most nights. Yeah, because you're in that position line connections. So that's good. But you're just coming up to higher levels now, geometric line centers. And this is what you guys are going to come into, higher formation of channels to structure positions. So yeah, that's where you're going to be coming into and how to understand these things. So it's all about, you have to understand the birth line center of positions to all calculations. Angels and archangels have been helping you since you were born, and they're going to keep helping you. Asking you shall receive. But once you reach a higher level of the mind system, there's a reason why you're in this position. There's a reason why I'm first born. Right? So I'm coming back to everything that I've already done. This has already been done 5,000 years, guys. I'm giving you 5,000 channels of information on what's happening with the Earth connections. Each channel has a different position of a drawing. It's already stored in its cloud. Now it's starting to make sense, right? So now we're connecting, right? That's a true understanding. If you understand your connections of you, how are you supposed to connect to your commander? Plain simple, especially for humanity. Oh, I don't get it. I don't understand the structure line. What does that mean to me? What is the shaped anomalies? Why is a UFO going in and out? The problem is that now the mind is lost. Thought doesn't understand its space of time and direction, and the geometry line centers way off base the locations, and you're still in the physical line conditions of interruption through its thinking. It's the knowing and doing. See, once you get to a level system of the mind system, the placebo goes forward. It doesn't go back in time. It only does that once it understands the sole direction of all travel. Now, I can go back in time, no problem. I can change alignments because I understand who I am through the grounds of everything. Even space has its grounds. Planets has its grounds. Everything has to have grounds. You guys seen it. You've traveled into positions, planet line center. So in perception, it's true understanding. This is one planet location, right? This is what you see, right? But we're on the same planet. So this planet is like this. Okay, that's a planet. Okay. All right. So that's what you're seeing through perception. And I'm seeing this through perception. So it's true understanding we're seeing the same planet, but different perception of timeline. So that means we're at a different vibration. Just trying to make it easier for you, everybody. So you have your grounds, you have your powers, and you have your atmospheres, right? Grounds, powers, and atmospheres. So you're seeing this, and I'm seeing this through calculations. High forcing line conditions, high level system rotations to an energy cycle location. So it's a higher formation. So I see something that I want to see through my perception, but it's the same planet. You understand? You understand now? So that's how we're connected to its alignment of telepathy to each other. Because we have the grounds of each other, we have the powers, and we have the atmospheres. But you're seeing things in different perception because you're in a different timeline center, but we're all connected to its telepathy. Okay? So your planet can be anything in that connection of perception, what you see through shape. What you see through shape. Right? What you see through shape. It's an illusion. You have to get out of the illusions and come into the diagram. Okay? So it's kind of like looking at a faucet up close. You know, everybody knows what a faucet is, right? So we have to start looking at things up close now, rather than just looking at things afar, right? It's the same thing with the lizard. You didn't know it was a lizard until I brought it back. That's deceiving. That's the illusion. So instead of focusing on what you see here, focus on what you can see inside. That's AI. That's phenomenon, right? So that's a true understanding of getting that resonance of locations. All right, so that's just a box, right? So it's true understanding what you're creating. What are you creating? Why are you creating these things? Okay, why am I creating this? What's happening, right? True understand what am I doing? What's going on through calculations? What's going on through calculations? All right? So we all have to get into this. We have to understand how to use these things. But once the mind is on its own, it creates everything inside and outside. It doesn't have to worry because it's already drawn. So that's where it gets confusing for a lot of people. Start with that position, right? But the connection is here, right? I go through here, right? I can travel anywhere to that position locations. It's very powerful. You come across these things, right? So you don't look at this, you look at what's going through. You're traveling through everything. Now, if I add something, I can travel through here, but it has to be created first, right? So space and time is created through what? Portal interference, right? Portal interference, right? And this comes into the position of geometry line center location. It's really fascinating when we see these things in location line centers, and it comes into high level system, the ground line system. Everything has to have a ground line center, okay? And then you come into the magnetic highway of its information cycle. It calculates and modifies all levels of communications to your flux capacitor locations, right? Very powerful when you come to higher level systems, right? Now, if you want to go from geometric line center to point center, you can set up points into the box center, right? or you can set up box centers into position where you're going to travel. So you can travel through here. You can go back and forth. You can go around circles. You can go through the portal line system. You can create anything through anomaly. You can change the sector line connections to a circle locations. Right? So now it's a different dimension through signature line. You can up a high-rise line center. Okay, you can go into higher level system of dimension, and you can go into higher position of space anomaly. See how it changed direction line systems? But what doesn't leave? The center location. Right? So it's the center that you're working with all the time, all the time. See the square? Looks like a baseball diamond, right? Now I can line signal that and bring into the flux capacitor line connections. Remember, I'm changing interference. So it's all about what I've created already, but I'm adding. I'm adding now of the now position. That's where the mind has to understand what you're doing. Because if it's already created, it's fine. I'll draw it out. But if you're adding, you have to go back to the grounds of the presence of the now. Mind understands. And then you realize, oh, now you're creating the now position. Right? So it's really interesting. Everything I do is the future, but what I'm doing now is the now present. So I'm adding on. So the mind and the conceptual thought has to understand what I'm doing, right? That's how it comes in this position. So I'm just adding, but I know what I'm doing on all calculations of what it is. So it modifies on all level systems. So I'm just adding things. That's all I'm doing. I'm adding things. Right? It's travel. That's all we do is travel every single day. We have to know how to travel through these things. Right? It's extremely powerful when you come in these positions. And then you can change it to a square. Right? And then you can go with line signal and you go to a higher level system. You go into another square line system. You go into another square and then you go into a 369 location. Now you can travel through that positions. 3-point center. So every time you're in the center, you have to set up points. You already know that. The center line you through the connections, right? See the triangle. Now the triangle comes into coloration. You could change position line connections. You can go into the sun rotation and change the colorations of the triangle, so you can actually see it, right? So everything that you've done this location. You can travel through that to that line connections. You can set up new operation line connections to that position. See, you can high-rise line center to position locations. It's complicated, right? So it's through understanding what you're doing. I can even send line signals like that to location. Satellite connections. I can send sonar to locations, right? But I'm adding things in the now position. So the mind has to understand what you're doing through imagination. If you've already created it, that's fine. But if you're trying to add something, you have to understand the mind of the grounds, because the mind has already traveled and so far in position of what it's created. Let's say you're 15 million years in the future that you created this from the Earth-line system, but it's 5,000 years in the future, and you're setting something up, but you're not connected to the mind system, and your gravitation of your line center, of your ground center, is not communicating. You won't be able to draw it out. You understand? So it's confusing the mind system of thought. That's the thinking. That's the thinking. Okay, so humanity has to get out of that and draw things through flow, recognition of time. Look how powerful that is. Look how powerful that is. So it's important to understand these things, right? So I draw things out for you that are created 5,000 years in the future, but I also can create things now in position. That means I can travel back into now, or I can travel back into the past and draw things out, but come back in the center and then go back into the future and create something else. Now I'm getting sonar from both locations right now. Not just one here, but two. Right signal line center, rotation line connections. The UFO wants me to high-rise line connection to a geometry line and interference. Done through equation. See, I'm communicating with you, but I'm also communicating with UFOs. I communicate with so many UFO line centers. It's crazy, right? So much sonar line connections. You guys are worrying about your ringing ears. You know how many ringing ears of sonar interference I get every day? I get between 150,000 to 2 million UFO line centers in my ears. Track system to its locations, because I high-rise all of us of space and time to communication through computer line system. So the operation line center to position, and they know I'm first intelligence born in space. That's why they come to me, because I'm the command line system, right? So it's true to understand how important it is to understand these things. But it's amazing when you change traction to creation. So it formulates on all levels of what? getting out of the thinking and hesitation. So I don't want to go too far with that connections because you guys don't understand your attractions or anything your dimensional line connections. Get out of your thinking, get in your knowing, get into your doings. The acting cycle will find a way to understand the mind system. The allocated position of time will find its balance through its present line system. But the true understanding, the mind has to understand the conception of what you're doing first through imagination. That's the true resonance where you get in the calculations, right? So, all right. How many angels do each person have, or all angels help everyone? All angels help everyone. Just asking you self-receive. Very, very simple answer. What is the interference slide signal? Good question, Samantha. Okay, interference. Interference is locking line center. So this is one rotation. Okay, interference is coming into another communication. That's all it is. Interference. You're interfering with what's going on through structure. It's creating on its own, but you're interfering with its connections. So you're going to disrupt the signals to its box system, and you're going to set off signals to other planet locations. Okay, that's what an interference line is. Interfering. So if you're interfering, you have to interlock, interlace. We'll get into that tomorrow, right? This is more about travel records of time location. Interlace. Interlacing is connecting to computer line centers. It's like, you know how you're having on your computer where you're lacing frames and you're trying to, these are the frames, and you're trying to put them into one frame, trying to understand what it is through a picture frame. You're trying to bring it in. If you watch Contact, you understand putting frames together. So it's trying to put the pixels into activation to its audio signal or anything's information line system. So it's interlaning too. Interlacing, interlaning, interlocking, interconnecting. So there's a lot of things we have to learn, but that's what it is through interlacing, right? So it's kind of like merging. You're merging all lacing lines into one frequency. So, all right. So here we go. Chaining your new thought system. Yep, exactly. Very good, Isabel. Yep. In the moment use. Yeah. So hopefully you guys get a better understanding, really get into the mind adaptation, how important it is to really get into the focus and get out of thinking and get more into the knowing of knowledge that's already set for you. Right? Perfect example, right? You can't give somebody information until you read the book. Plain simple, right? But once it's stored, it's easy to get back. So the thing is, don't worry about the creation. We'll just focus on the mind and where it's supposed to be. Once you come into the laws of attraction with Valiant Alliance, you get a better understanding how to communicate to higher levels of geometry line center to its metric connections. And then we'll get into the interlacing, interlocking, interdimensional connections, intergalactic connections to that position. Okay, truly understand your position is the sole direction to everything through its GPS, to its locking system. Okay, so I'm going to head over to TikTok. All right, any questions or comments, let me know. Adios.